Before you guys continue watching today's episode, I want to introduce you to a very special guest. Her name is Aya Shalak.
Shalak, yeah.
Shalak. We're going to talk about mental health. She's a counselor and does mindset, health coaching,
Self-development and mental health.
self-development. Sorry, I was kind of losing that one on you, eh? And we're going to get into tips and tricks on how to overcome trauma, how to achieve your goals, and all this beautiful stuff. So we're going to have a lot of good content for you guys. So stay tuned and keep watching. So excited to meet you. And by the way, punctuality is key. She's very punctual. So 1:30 sharp is 1:30 sharp in her world. Okay.
Exactly, 100%. That's
Exactly.
one of the main rules for success. Early
That's
bird
right.
catches the worm.
But not the dead fish part, huh?
No, that's different.
What was the saying that you put up?
Only dead fish go with the flow.
I like that. Where did
Yeah,
you come up with
I didn't
this?
make it up.
It's okay.
It's like a very famous quote. I honestly read it for the first time. I think I was in grade 7 or grade 8.
And
I
you still
loved
remember
it.
that?
Yeah, and I just kept it. It's been my mantra ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then tell me. Let's talk about some counseling.
Okay, what do you want to know?
Let's get into this mental health. You had a very interesting fact I saw it on the Instagram.
Okay.
I remember I sent it to you. We were talking about how if you continuously talk about the past, your brain rewrites that fact.
100%. So our minds are more of a coherence machine. So your mind is continuously working on bridging between your reality and the fiction of what you think. So our mind cannot differentiate between those two. So in our unconscious, for example, if I'm always telling myself I'm going to fail or I'm ugly or I have imposter syndrome and people don't believe in me, our brain will continuously seek out situations to turn that into reality. And it's one of our very early instinctual habits. And it initially happened to rewire us for survival. And that's why it's very important. Like people talk about positive affirmations and people think it's all about fluff. It's not fluff, it's actually strategy. Because whatever you tell yourself, whether it's positive or negative, your mind will continue to find and seek out situations to make that happen and turn it into a reality.
Are we talking about manifestations?
Manifestations is part of it as well, 100%. They even did a very interesting study that they've been trying to debunk for a while. I don't know why, but scientists worked with water particles and they were continuously giving these water particles positive affirmations. And after some time, these particles crystallized. And we're made up of water, I think 80% or 90%, I'm not sure, don't quote me on it. So it's kind of the same thing.
I'm curious.
You could look it up.
Continue.
Yeah. So it works with plants, it works with water, it works with humans. What you tell yourself will manifest into your reality.
That's what's interesting is they had an experiment where they was talking about plants, the human body. They were talking about how affirmations and how you talk to people can affect them. So you know how sticks and stones, approximately 50 to 65% water.
There you go.
No, it's okay. I was just curious.
Yeah.
They were talking about how when you speak to others, that sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can't hurt you. I know I'm speaking to the choir because you're into mental health and all the other stuff, but they did an experiment where they took 3 plants and it was, have you ever heard of this one?
Yeah, I think I know what you're going to say, but go on. I want to hear it from you.
But the 3 plants, it was the same environment, same amount of pH scale, water, sunlight, the whole shebang. The first one, they told nothing to it. The second one, they told how it's going to be beautiful, green, luscious. You're nodding your head. You heard this one before, no?
Yeah.
So the third one, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be brown. The leaves are going to be hanging upside down and all the other stuff. And then the first one, sure enough, normal. The second one, big, luscious, and green and massive. Exactly. And the third one, exactly what I said, crispy brown.
100%. And it's what we tell ourselves all the time. And that's why we have something called an internal voice and an internal narrative. So that's why it's also very important how we speak to our children, because that adult voice that they grew up with is going to become the internal voice that they have as grown adults. So the children that we were are the adults that we will become. So if a child is taught conditional love, they will grow on with that. If they are taught to shut down their feelings, they become an adult that cannot connect. If they are taught where their emotions are dismissed, they become adults with migraines and autoimmune diseases. It manifests itself physically and not just psychologically.
Autoimmune diseases too?
Yeah. And that's why women are more prone to those diseases than men are, because societally wise, we are taught to tone down our emotions and not speak up because we're shamed for it. Men, same thing, but they end up committing suicide a lot more than women do. So it manifests itself in different ways based on different genders, not because the gender is the dominating factor, more because of the way society teaches you to deal with your emotions.
It's a good point, because it's funny, because I find sometimes men are more emotional than women nowadays.
They're
Obviously
different.
not in biological makeup, but I'm just saying sometimes, as an example, I find some men are hardcore lovers. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but
No,
I'm
it's
just saying,
not.
you know.
No, it's not. We're taught to teach men that tenderness is the opposite of strength, but I think they go hand in hand.
100%.
A masculine man is not just a man who's buff and, you know, is macho and has a hardcore voice. That's obviously part of masculinity, but being responsible, being consistent, showing up, knowing how to express your emotions and communicate is also very masculine, and I think is very attractive as well.
To a man.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm not attracted to men, but I'm agreeing with you. So when you're doing all this counseling, what's the first things that you look for? Signs of what? Trauma?
For me, the first thing I look for is how can I build a relationship with this person?
Right.
Because I've found this in my job, but also studies showed that the number one factor that will determine the success rate of counseling is the quality of the relationship that the counselor has with the patient.
Sure.
So you can get all the education in the world, you can have all the techniques and tactics. It comes down to how quickly and how authentically you can bond with the person that you're working with, because that's going to determine how much they can open up, how honest they're going to be with you, how seriously they will take the session, if they are going to be coming from a place of shame or a place of openness. It's all about connectivity and how you can connect with people. And for me, that comes down to storytelling. So sometimes when we tell our stories, it's not a sign of weakness. People fear that if I tell my story and what I've struggled with as a therapist, it's going to take away my credibility. I find it's quite the opposite. Me sharing my story and owning up to it takes away the stigma from it. And that opens the door for the person in front of me to connect. It gives them the permission to open up as well, because I've just removed the shame and guilt aspect
By
off
sharing
the table.
about yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's funny, they teach you that in sales. So how important is it about the lying aspect? Don't you feel like right off the jump they're gonna lie a lot?
Sometimes, and sometimes lying is just a coping mechanism.
100%. But how do you overcome that though?
By consistently asking them reflective questions. I find not judging them. I like to use a lot of something that's called narrative therapy, where you take
Say that again.
narrative therapy.
Narrative therapy.
Yeah. And it's self-explanatory. It's basically taking the thing that they're telling you and kind of spinning the narrative into a different perspective. And then they could see it kind of from a bigger lens and an outer lens and revisit it from a different door. And they don't even have to come clean to you about, oh, I lied about this. They just retell you the story in a different lens.
So as an example, let's just say, imagine you're the patient.
Okay.
Don't be the patient, but let's just say,
Yeah.
doctors make the worst patients. But let's just say,
That's very true.
But let's just say you're the patient. You gave the story. I was asking, what happened in that event in your life, and then you said it, and then I'm like, okay, so what if it was I was coming in the door, right? And let's just say, I'm not the one. You held the door open. I never said thank you. How would that make you feel? Is that what you're doing for the narrative therapy? To flip the script?
Sure. Yeah, you could do that, or asking like open-ended questions, repeating what they say and being like, oh, is that what you meant? And for them, sometimes hearing it back, it's like, no, that's not what I meant. And then they start correcting the narrative a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So just by continuously cycling through the story, is that the vicious cycle you're talking about? Is that part of it?
What do you mean vicious cycle?
The vicious cycle was about, I learned it in ontology. It's basically about what happened. So we'll give a fake example.
Okay.
Right? So Aya, she was working, whatever. She was sitting with her father. Her father was in the garage. She was 5 years old. Right? And then Baba's doing all this work, because that's what you call your dad.
Yeah.
Is doing all this work on his car, and you just want to seem like you're interested because you want to bond with your father. Right? And then you're asking too many questions like every child does. And then your dad gets annoyed and he says, Aya, stop asking so many questions. What happened is you were trying to bond with your father.
And he shut it down.
And then he got annoyed. Exactly. And then the story you tell yourself is, I'm worthless, I'm stupid. And then that just continues into a vicious cycle until you believe the story of what happened, not even what happened anymore.
100%. And the thing is that our trauma is not what happened to us. It's what our mind did to survive it. So sometimes it's our interpretation of it and what our body goes through to deal with it that actually leave us traumatized. It's not the actual situation in itself.
Right. It's funny because my coping mechanism was anger.
You lash out on other people.
Crazy. Nuclear.
Where did you learn that from?
I don't even know. The whole family's nuts were Arabs. What are you talking about?
So you're remodeling the behavior you grew up with.
100%. So that was my coping mechanism for forever. And then at some point you learn how to deal with it.
How did you deal with it?
Thinking about it rationally, calmly, putting myself in the other person's shoes.
And it's self-awareness.
Are we doing a mock-up right now? I'm ready. Listen, is this what we're doing?
No. I don't want to therapize you on live right now. No.
Okay, so I've already been therapized, you know?
You've been to therapy?
Me? You crazy? I went to school of hard knocks. That's it. I don't know anything about therapy. That's funny because I find the human mind so fascinating.
Yeah.
Right? And then it turns out you guys are very much similar than you're different.
100%.
And if you just figure out a way to bridge the gap, I'm just giving you my adolescent days. My adolescent days are just nuts, but I don't care about myself today. I want to know about you.
Okay.
Right? So then who are you working with mostly? What's the age gap?
Right now I'm working mostly with youth. So the ages of 12 to 17. I've worked with many different populations and different age groups. I've worked in like men's prisons. I've done women's shelters, war zones.
I want to know about women's war zone. I just completed 2 of them. Women's shelters.
Yeah.
There must be some wild stories there.
It is it's very intense stories. And the difficult part is you identify as a woman for me, like as well. So it's very hard to kind of separate myself from that. Even last week I was working with female youth who's been through something very traumatizing, and what happens is that she relives that trauma. So that's what a traumatic flashback is, where you literally relive the experience that happened to you as if it's happening right now. And that's another part where your brain does not know that it's not real. You actually think that you're there. And it was very difficult because I'm looking at her and I'm like, that could have been me. I could have been going through that right now. So that's a really difficult part about therapy as well.
So how do you remove yourself from the situation?
Honestly, you can't always do that. And that's just part of being human.
I respect that answer.
And it went on for about 40 minutes. And the minute I got out of, we were able to handle the situation. The minute I got out of the situation, my shift partner looked at me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No," and I bawled my eyes out.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm a very difficult person to cry. I don't cry easy at all. I was bawling my eyes out. I had to speak with the clinician that was there as if I was one of the kids that I work with. It was difficult, but you go through the emotions, you don't block it, you deal with it, and then you go back on the floor and you do what you're supposed to do. There's a reason we're doing what we're doing, and as long as you anchor yourself in your purpose, that's where your resilience kind of shows up to carry you on until results show up.
So do you have to do your own, I really don't know what you want to call it, like an offloading session or something? You
should, yeah. It's recommended, and also if you're a registered therapist, you have to be seeing someone as well. So that, because it's for many reasons. One, because you don't want to be biased. You don't want to let your own projections and your own trauma fall onto the people that you're dealing with. You don't want your own opinions to sway what you're saying to them. You don't want to carry that home with you and have it ruin your personal life. And it happens sometimes.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And you don't want to burn out because it's very easy in our field to physically burn out, emotionally burn out. It's messy, it's hard, and healing is very linear. It's up and down. It's not just a one-stop shop. It's not, "Oh, I'm great, I'm good, I've had a great childhood, so I'm going to be a great therapist." That's not how it works. I find it to be quite the opposite. The more you've been through things and the more you can relate to the people that you're working with, the better relationship you will have and the higher success rate.
I can see that though.
Yeah.
The more trauma that you go through, you obviously, let me ask you this. Do you feel like you just build more scars? Or do you truly just get over it? I feel like I build more scars, if anything. It just hardens up and then that's it. You kind of feel like I just got to cope with it. I don't ever get over it.
It depends on how you deal with it. Because what happens is sometimes what we try to do for survival becomes our personality characters and our personality traits. So being calm as a kid, forcing yourself to be calm so that you don't disrupt the adults around you because they're already fighting and it's a disruptive environment. That calmness as a child becomes emotional shutdown as an adult. Perfectionism, the expectation of being a perfect kid and the conditional love that comes with it becomes connection shutdown as an adult, or becomes the perfectionism sometimes is also born from fear as a child. So all the wounds that you're carrying with you are going to become like the things that you take on with you as an adult, and it manifests itself into your relationship as well, because your partners are going to meet you at the same place that you are in your psychological healing.
Makes sense.
So if you choose to deal with it, then you have a better understanding and a better sense of self-awareness, and you're capable of helping others and detecting it in others as well. And if you don't, then you grow up projecting it onto others, and sometimes, unfortunately, it ends up you traumatize someone else. And that's why it says hurt people, because you're projecting all this hurt onto someone else, and now they have to heal from you.
Do you find there's an ethnic group specifically you're talking about it's very prevalent in?
Every single ethnic group has its own type of generational trauma.
Okay.
They're obviously
Let's talk about your own kind.
Where do I start?
It's a lengthy list.
But the thing is, that's interesting, like especially when you look at communities that have been through war, let's say, or whatever type of trauma is, also it does show up genetically, which is very scary.
What do you mean?
Like generational trauma is genetically passed down onto you.
So because my grandfather, let's say, fought in the war,
Yeah. So
that PTSD or whatever he developed.
Yeah, it is genetically transmitted to you.
Interesting.
It takes, I think, 4 to 6 generations for it to stop showing up genetically. That's if you work on it and if you heal from it.
Really?
And that's why we say systematic violence or systematic poverty or systematic discrimination. And we see it right now, unfortunately, within our indigenous communities because of everything that they've been through systematically. Now they're set up for failure. And we see a lot of them now are battling addictions, are battling gender-based violence or domestic abuse. And it's not because right now they're being oppressed. It's because of what has happened to them from generations before. And it has not been dealt with, and it is still going on. And unfortunately, our government thinks that, we're just going to isolate them into one area, not provide them with equal opportunity, and we're just going to pay them off a certain amount. But what are you going to do to kind of fix and the negative effects that has happened from generations? And it's coming down across us until now. Even like you mentioned COVID when you spoke to me earlier. Just in spring of 2021, they did a study and they found out that 1 in 4 Canadians have positively identified with symptoms of anxiety, depression, sometimes even food disorders and eating disorders, like the things that you have mentioned before.
Right.
And this is just COVID. This is just like something that happened recently. It was like between a year between COVID and between when the study has happened.
Right. I heard I heard that psychologists are still saying that we haven't seen the full effect of the lockdowns.
Yep.
Psychologically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what's crazy is if you think about it, if they say it takes 4 to 6 generations, how do they find that data anyways? How do they come up with this information?
From doing longitudinal studies. So you do studies and like there are many ways
I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, there are many ways to collect data and statistics when it comes to psychological experiments or studies. You could do surveys, you could do interviews. Sometimes you, like scientists or psychologists will monitor a certain group of people from generation to generation. And they collect that data and based off of it, they compare it.
That's insane how they can figure out what your great times 3 grandfather back in the days was doing and what he went through. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting fact. But going back to what an interesting topic, because if you think about it, it's what Truth and Reconciliation Day today, and you're bringing up the natives. But it makes sense because if you're talking about a couple hundred years of systemic oppression, anyways, what a beautiful time to bring it up. Yeah. So you work a lot with them.
They're not the major population, but they are a great part of the population that I work with. Yes, and it's sad because it's youth, you know. So it's like they didn't ask for any of this. We are a combination of our nature and nurture. And when you're in that age, you don't really have agency and decision-making power. So you're kind of seeing the result of what the adults have done. And you're seeing it manifest in a human being.
It's sad.
It is.
You can't be upset at your kids for acting the way they act because they're just a reflection of you. I get that.
100%.
I got 3 boys. The 3 of them are nuts. Father's nuts, so it makes sense. You know what I mean? In a good way, though, for all you viewers that want to sit there and call her, I don't need no help, but, you know, I'm just saying.
We all need help, Joey. We all need help.
Well, that's why I called you here today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said we'll do a mock trial or something like that.
No, but you have self-awareness. Like you were able to identify it immediately. And that's kind of the hardest part in therapy, you know, because you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. You can't help someone who doesn't see a problem. So you already have self-awareness. So I think you're fine for the most part.
Thank God. I guess that's the scars and the growing up rough. But whenever you're working with these youths, let's say as an example, you go to PTSD. I don't want to be ignorant and say, like, where do you find, is it kids coming from overseas that have the PTSD and those are the people that you're
No,
working
it's a
with?
common. It's different populations. Like there are people that come from Western cultures. There are people that are immigrants, asylum seekers. Like we even have people that are asylum seekers coming here to seek that type of help.
Sorry, I think because we said one of them was women's shelters, war.
Yeah. So my specialization is crisis intervention. So I do like mental health and intervention in emergencies and crisis. Obviously, I built up my career, so I started in different places. I've worked with refugee councils, prisons, treatment centers, some that were voluntarily and some of them that weren't. I found it very interesting that you brought it up when we talked initially because, yeah, some of the people that we deal with are not voluntary in treatment. They've been put there. Sometimes it's court mandated. Sometimes if you're a youth, you don't have agency over yourself. You can't make that decision. Your guardian has to sign on it. Or if you've unfortunately been dealt a bad hand and you have parents that are not equipped to be parents and you're taken into the custody of CAS, then CAS is the one that signs off on sending you into a treatment.
I'm guessing that's the age group you're working, right? Because
Yeah.
you said 12 to 17,
Yeah.
so a lot of them are CAS cases.
Yeah,
I personally think everybody should go to therapy, honestly.
I agree.
Even if you feel good, it's always good to make sure that your mind's sharp. I definitely agree, but I think that we're from an area that it's completely frowned upon.
Yeah.
They just say he's an idiot. Akhwat, he's an idiot, you know?
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
Yeah.
So how do you so now that you know you come from this generation, how does that make your views? Does it make you more of an over nurture when it comes down to dealing with
Yeah, kind of. I find myself always having these conversations with people and trying to convince them that they should go to therapy. Honestly, like I didn't grow up going to therapy. When the first time I ever stepped into a therapy office, I was 19. I was a very angry kid.
Sure.
And it was a situation where I got so mad I saw red. I lashed out. I've never experienced that level of anger ever. It was that one time. And I remember I just walked into an office and she was like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "I need anger management."
Oh, you volunteered that?
Yeah, I went because
Wow.
I lashed out. It got very intense. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? So I went to a therapy office. And fortunately, I grew up in a household where we've had those conversations. My dad's always been very open about these things. He's always like gotten me books and had these conversations with me. So I wasn't really ashamed to admit that I needed help. But it took a lot of me putting my ego aside because I'm like, oh, I'm in this field. Because I started volunteering when I was 13. So I've been in this field ever since.
Wow.
So yeah, so that kind of ties in back to the thing I mentioned earlier where I'm like, this takes away from my credibility. Like, how am I supposed to help people if I'm going to therapy and if I need help and if I'm damaged and I need fixing? How am I supposed to help fix anyone else? But it's not really about fixing. A therapist's job isn't to fix you or give you the answer. A bad therapist will give you an answer and tell you this is what you need to do.
Right.
A therapist is supposed to give you a toolbox with tools that was going to equip you to use that in different situations. If you're dependent on your therapist, the therapist is not doing a good job. You're supposed to be able to have like new ways of like critical thinking and self-reflection and, you know, come up with all these tools.
Are you telling them that you're not broken? You're just going through a situation in life? Like, what's the preach here that when you see a kid that voluntarily came to you?
You're a work in progress. You know, it's okay to ask for help. We don't always have all the answers. It's very difficult sometimes to see, you know, the answer and figure it out when you're in the middle of the situation. Also, when you're angry, you can't even think straight. You know, your body is in fight or flight mode. You know, and that's why sometimes after we've been through a lot of trauma, a lot of problems, when we're not in that situation anymore, we're tired, we're exhausted, and it's like, what's wrong with me? Well, your body is catching up to all the rest that it wasn't getting when you were going through the situation itself. Because your body is going to keep going and it's going to max itself out. And then when you're out of the danger, that's when all the physical symptoms start arising. It's catching up to you.
It makes sense, but I'm very impressed that you said that your father was providing you with mental health books.
Yeah, he always bought a lot of books about different things, and we talked about mental health. He was very open. He grew up with a very difficult and angry father. So I find that very admirable that, you know, he was able to kind of break that curse. I think maybe he was the first one in his family line to break generational trauma and break generational curses. Where, you know, he was like, no, I'm not going to repeat the same cycle. He had a very abusive father, and my dad was not an abusive father at all. He was over nurturing, like something that you mentioned.
It's funny because your father's story reminds me of my father's. He's a very sweet man, but his dad, I'm like, obviously I don't know my grandfather. He was in Lebanon. I was born and raised here. And I said, Baba, how was Jiddo with you?
Yeah.
Like, how was your father? He's like, I love my dad, but let's just say he was extremely rough.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say, because obviously he's never going to talk bad about his father. But when I asked others, they're like, the man was just a tyrant, you know, not in bad ways. He could just completely shut off.
But sometimes that's what you have to do. You know, they grew up in a different time. They were going through different things, and you have to do what you have to do to move forward. Sometimes the environment does not provide you the ability to kind of open up and be that person.
But you've had this passion, you're saying, since you were 13, though.
What do you mean?
Because you said you've been in this industry since you were 13.
Yeah.
You're 27 today. It's a long time. You've been in this industry 14 years.
Yeah.
How do you feel like it's taken a toll on you now, or do you feel like you're even better than you were before?
I honestly think I'm at the happiest place I've been in my life right now.
Wow.
I've learned to be content. I've learned to be grateful. Obviously, certain situations will trigger different things for you. Like, I have good days, I have rough days. And it's very hard. Like, your 20s are so difficult because as you're becoming an adult, you kind of revisit situations that you went through as a child, and you think, how did the adults let this happen? How did the adults deal with it this way?
Good point.
And it can spin you into an existential crisis sometimes. You know, we've all been through our things. Just because I had a great dad doesn't mean I didn't have a rough childhood. I've had my own experiences. For me, the biggest defining factor was the moment when I learned to change my anger into acceptance.
Interesting.
And sometimes it's okay to have both at the same time. And I'm going to give you an example. Let's say, you know, a lot of women, for them, their first abuser was their own mother. And a lot of women, you know, they put down other women. Like, we speak about, oh, women need to uplift each other. But when you look back on who's actually the person that's putting us down, it's us. It's coming from within. It's not the men that are oppressing us and abusing us. And I say that on a smaller scale. I'm not speaking, you know, like when it comes to like legislations and workforce and so on and so forth. I don't want anyone to come for me.
No, it's okay. I like you clarified that. So you're safe.
So, you know, sometimes you deal with situations where a woman is, you know, her trauma and everything that she's going through is because of her mother, and she's angry and she's hurt, and she's never going to get the answer that she wants to hear. Her mother's never going to admit to doing what she did or making her feel the way she felt or apologizing. But then at the same time, your mother lived for the first time. She was also going through all these things at once. You don't know everything that was happening. And we struggle a little bit because it's like, I want to, let's say, feel bad for her and I want to be there for her, but I'm also so angry because of so and so and so. Well, it's okay to have both. They don't cancel each other out. You can have anger as a daughter and empathy as a woman for your mother at the same time.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Because I always said the worst bullies I've ever seen in my life were girls.
Unfortunately.
That is unfortunate, you know, because I was, like, as an example, I always uplift and I preach unity and all the other stuff. How you can empower your people. That's my language. So, like, as an example, I know it sounds stupid, but one time we went to a Costco, right? And then the cashier was just trying to be funny. And then he's like, oh, yeah, your husband's probably lazy. And I just looked at him. Like, number one, you don't talk to me like that. It's not because I think I'm better than you. It's not because I'm
It's
big.
disrespectful.
Exactly. Like, I understand your joke, but your joke is demeaning. I don't find it funny. I'm not offended for myself. I refuse to allow you to put me in that light because my kids are watching. And I don't want my kids to be a pushover, and I don't want them to be yes men and all the other stuff. Not the same. My wife was there. She responded great. She said, my husband's not lazy. You know what I mean? Rightfully so. I fucking do 13 hours a day, 7 days a week. Moral of the story was, I always think, number one, I was able to say, hey, you know, I appreciate, you know, you're trying to make a joke and all that other stuff, but please, like, I just don't find it funny.
But it also, like, if you look at it, usually the way, and I say this to the kids all the time because, you know, they go through bullying and they go through all these things and they're starting to build relationships and learn how to choose their partner and so on and so forth. And I say, we can't internalize the way that people treat us, because I swear, like, I think, and I hope someone does this research and proves me right. I think 90% of the time, the way people treat us is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. You're never going to find a successful entrepreneur judging someone who's broke for starting their own business.
Absolutely.
It's always that loser from your high school that's never done anything, that's lurking on your social media without ever engaging with it, that's judging you. It's
And
that
we see you, by the way, huh? Where do you think you're hiding from?
Exactly. So it's a reflection on how they feel about themselves. And most of the time it's insecurity or whatever wound that they haven't fixed and haven't worked on. So yeah.
That's a perfect example because I always say the same thing. Remember how we were just saying that you didn't create the dead fish? I didn't create this one either, that you don't have to be great to start. You got to start to be great. No, it's the same No, I love that for the fact. I feel like nowadays, look, if you want to tease your friends or whatever, I think there's limits to everything in life.
Yeah.
Like at some point, it's like, listen, man, you're pushing it too much, you know? I think everybody in life has problems and it's okay. But the fact that I'm more interested in the fact that you said you deal with crisis management. Does that automatically mean suicide?
No. There are different levels to crisis. Like a traumatic flashback. A traumatic flashback is a crisis. A panic attack or anxiety attack is a crisis. A physical lash out is a crisis. Self-harm is a crisis. Like before we get to suicide, self-harm can be, we see it with like headbanging, cutting, trying to take pills or there are so many different ways. And sometimes even with self-harm, the goal isn't always that you want to commit suicide. Sometimes it's just a cry for help. You just don't know how to express it.
Right.
Yeah. So crisis is so many different things. It's like your inability to emotionally regulate.
Now, as a parent, so I'm a father of 3. If I was to see my kids, I'm not invincible. I'll get to my point, but if I was to see my child doing that, and like you said, it's not voluntarily sometimes that they're coming to see you. It's the parent calling. Who's the one that deals with the parent? Because obviously they're going to have some sort of trauma of watching their kid, suffering of some sort. Who talks to that parent? Is it you? Is it someone else? Or is it not included in this process at all?
I mean, it depends. Like if you mean like at my job specifically or just in general?
Yeah, so like as an example, I have a daughter. I actually don't have a daughter. That's why I'm using an example. I don't want to put it on my kids. But let's just say I had a little girl.
Yeah.
And then she was exhibiting the same behavior that you're talking about. She's lashing out, physical. She's headbanging. She's trying to take pills. It's a cry for help. Obviously, we don't know how to help her anymore. We need a professional. So then we call CAS. Aya shows up. The mother is traumatized now.
Okay.
Right? Because I can only imagine. I know my wife. She's a very mom's mom. Right? So now who deals with her? You can't put it on me because now I'm way too personally involved. Who deals with her now? So
you wouldn't call CAS in this situation because the parent is not being neglectful and abusive. So CAS, I don't think would get involved in this situation. But let's say you seeked help and you seek therapy.
We sought you. Yeah, we called you specifically.
A resource. I don't have my own practice, so
I don't care. I called you.
Let's say I did.
Sure.
Let's say I did. Obviously, we'd have a separate session with the parents, the mom alone, the dad alone, and then the mom and the dad together. And we need to come up with, and we do an intake session with the child first. So intake is just collecting information to kind of figure out what's going on. And then we kind of come up with a treatment plan. And the treatment plan, I usually love to involve the family as much as possible if the family is equipped to deal with it and if they are capable and they're not part of the direct problem. Because in some ways, sometimes we are part of the problem unintentionally because of things that we're not aware that we're doing. But I think usually, and they do this in Finland a lot as well. They come more from like a open family dynamic space where they involve the family in the conversation. We come up with a treatment plan together and we follow up. So as you're doing sessions with the child, you do sessions with the family as well. And sometimes it could be, because every time you do a session with the kid, you kind of want to loop the family into what's going on and let them know how the child is progressing and how you want to move forward. And sometimes if it's a family dynamic situation, you can go into family therapy. So there are different types of therapy and different types of counseling. And family therapy is one of them. And it's one that I really like because it encourages that openness and involves everyone in the conversation. Because let's say I'm working with this child separately and the mother or the father that are part of the problem are continuing to do whatever they've been doing that caused this problem to begin with. How am I going to make it work? Because the kid's going back home at the end of the day, So I do encourage and I do believe that they do go hand in hand. But sometimes if the parent is the problem, and if they are abusive and neglectful, we kind of need to put that kid in a different environment, because you can have an amazing seed, but if it's not in the right environment for it to grow, it's not going to grow. Do I blame the seed, or do I blame the soil?
Beautiful analogy, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can give an Hermes bag to a homeless man. He's probably gonna look and see if there's something in it, and if there's,
he's gonna pawn that so quick.
I mean, he might not even know what it is, and throw it on the street. He's gonna treat it like a Walmart bag. Does that mean that bag and the Walmart bag have the same amount of value? No, but you put it in the wrong hands. So do I blame the bag, or do I blame the environment?
I should have looked at the bag you came in with. So
no, it's not an Hermes bag. No, I cannot afford that.
So that, because I find it very interesting, because when you're saying that the environment is everything,
it's a huge part of it, you know. But sometimes,
when do they actually finally take? When's enough, and they actually take away the kid, and they put him in them? I don't know, foster care system or something like that. When does it hit that red line?
So there isn't like a specific guidebook or like a point system for it. Every situation is different, but again, to make it very general, when the parent is abusive and neglectful to the point where it is directly harming the child and harming their well-being.
Is it a case per case, by the way?
Usually, yeah, prefer. But I don't work with CS, so I don't know directly like how they decide. But from my experiences, every case is different. Like I've seen kids where their parents are still their guardians, and their parents are drug abusers and they're neglectful, but then the kid is still allowed to go on home visits and see their family and go back to their family after they're done treatment. And I've seen other situations where they were not drug abusers and they were not any of that, but the child was still taken away. So it kind of depends.
It varies on the severity of the situation and then whoever's in charge.
Yeah, and sometimes it also varies on the person that got involved. CAS is not always right. I don't always agree with everything that they do. So, you know, it also kind of depends on whose lap the file lands on, because they also kind of make that decision, and also the court where the decisions were made. And like the kids that we deal with, where it's not voluntary, it's usually court mandated. So it also comes down to the court making the decision.
Okay. So do you ever deal with the adults?
Me right now, no, but I have before. Yeah. We deal with them mainly like right now where, let's say we went into a crisis with one of the kids and we had to do a physical intervention or something like that. We call them and we let them know immediately. So this is what happened. We debrief them on the situation. We deal with them when we're putting our treatment plan. We continuously, like, we don't do direct therapy to the family, but we continuously loop them into what's going on if the family has capability of contact. Because sometimes when the court mandates the kid into treatment, and if they're a CAS kid or so on and so forth, sometimes we are not allowed to have any contact with their family. The kid is not allowed to have any contact with the family. I'm gonna like throw a bomb right now. Like sometimes you have parents that traffic their kids, rape their kids, prostitute their kids.
That's fucking disgusting on every single level of the word, honestly.
But you get those, and it's more common than you think. So in those situations, there's a no contact order. So no, we are not going to involve the family in that situation.
It's more common than I think.
It happens. It happens. And I'm going to drop another bomb on you. I'm going to take it down a notch a little bit. When it comes to sexual assault, most of the time, and you can look up the exact statistic, most of the time it's coming from an adult that was trusted. More than most times, it's family. Extended family, family friends, but it's usually a trusted adult. And that's what put the child in a place where they became a target, because they were around an adult that the family trusted this child around. Am I making sense?
I'm already disgusted. I hear you.
Yeah.
You are making sense. It's almost like that story with that 3-year-old or 4-year-old. I don't remember. It was in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. I think it was the babysitter that broke in the house at like 3-4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. Did you not hear about that story?
No, I didn't know.
I'm going to misquote it at this point, but there was, anybody can fact check me and throw it out there, but it's a disgusting article. There was, I think the child was anywhere between the age of 2 or 4, and it was the babysitter that broke back into the house, and it was a male, which is very weird. I never would have thought of leaving my kids with a male, but you know, that is what it is. I don't care how anybody feels. It's my kid. I can do whatever I want.
I agree with you.
But, and then that fucking piece of shit, I'm not even gonna say excuse my French at that point, broke into the house and then raped the kid, and then that child had to have reconstructive surgery. Yeah. At like 2-3.
Yeah. And most of the cases that I've dealt with, like since I've started working in this field, almost every single one of like whether it was grown adults or children, most of the times it was someone they knew. someone they knew and someone they knew really well.
You're very right on that, because it's weird, as funny, as crazy as this sounds, a lot of guys that even I know at some point were sexually assaulted by their babysitter, which is very weird once again to have a babysitter that was a male.
Sometimes it's females too. Females sexually assault.
I'm not
males
saying
and
no, I
females.
agree with you, probably, for sure. I don't know what the statistics shows. I don't know if it's more male than female.
I don't want to quote myself on it, but I would think it's more males than females.
I would have thought the same thing. I'm not the professional. It's not my. It's
Yeah,
not my degree.
I don't want to quote on
stake.
it. I don't want to quote on it.
You want to? I can build you a house 7 days a week. I'm not worried about getting my psychology license taken away. But I would have just assumed that it was just more male.
Yeah.
But which is still very interesting. Like, I understand male nurses, I get. Male babysitters, I really don't. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is even a lot of guys. Remember how we were talking about earlier? We're talking about shame, right? In our culture, it's very shameful to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has an issue. I know people that their relative is schizophrenic or something like that, and they're like, no, he's just having a bad day. Buddy, that's not a bad day. Like, he genuinely needs help. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Seek help for him, you know? But once again, to bring it back to that topic, a lot of them just throw it under the rug, and I get it, because it's ego, it's pride. Like, who wants to sit there as a guy and say you got sexually assaulted? I'm not sure you see a lot of that.
But that's part of the problem.
I know.
That's
agree.
why predators keep doing what they're doing, because they're not being shamed for it enough. They're not being crucified for it enough. People,
I like the crucified one. I don't care about the shame part. Crucify the fuck out of the guy.
And people won't come forward because they're also going to be shamed. Sometimes they're going to be blamed. Like, we can sit here and say, oh, society's moving forward and it's not the same anymore. But till this day, if a woman gets sexually assaulted, first question we're going to ask, what was she wearing? Where was she going? Who was she with?
That's actually the
Why
question?
was she targeted? Yes. Wow. Yes. It happens all the freaking time. And that's why a lot of people don't want to come forward and say it, because they're going to have to deal with all the scrutiny. They're going to have to deal with, oh, you're lying, you made it up, you're just saying this so that you could take him to court and take his money. Like, we see it with adults, we see it with kids. You know, every situation is different, but it's hard to come forward as a victim of sexual assault or as a victim of rape, and that's a huge part of the problem. And that's why we should talk about it more, because the more we're open about it, the more it scares the predator of doing it again, because, oh, people are going to find out. Like, even if you look at, like, the more conservative communities,
Sure,
it happens, but it gets swept under the rug. And it's going to continue to happen because it continues to be swept under the rug. If I have no consequences, why the hell wouldn't I do it if I wanted to? And it's not a sexual attraction thing. It's a power thing. It has nothing to do with sexual attraction.
really.
Yes, absolutely. And even they did this experiment with men that were in prison for rape and sexual assault. They wanted to figure out, this is very old, but they wanted to figure out kind of like what was the reasoning, and they offered to let them out if they were able to mutilate them, because they wanted to see if it was like a sexual thing or what it was. And the people that, they opted into the experiment, they got mutilated, they got out of prison, they went and raped people using objects. It has nothing to do with sexual gratification.
That's crazy. So that's why the whole point of this conversation is to say it's completely irrelevant what she's wearing or anything, which I think is crazy that anybody's asking that question.
Oh, yeah.
To be very honest with you.
Just look up a post on social media and let the people tell you how they really feel. Maybe if you're having a
You're
conversation.
going to kill my algorithm right now. I like my algorithm. You know what I mean? It's all about funny videos or whatever I got going on. But that's crazy, though. So how do we encourage them to speak up? Because at this point, you know, it is part of a lot of conversations where, oh, she's trying to do it for her. Well, you know what? Listen, if it's a celebrity, forget about that. It's such a small percentage of what we're talking about. But how do we get these girls to come out and talk more about it? And at least so they can crucify the guy. I don't care about the shaming. Just crucify the fuck out of the guy.
I think first of all, the people that have come forward, we need to believe them, support them, stand by them, provide resources to help them navigate all the difficulties that they're going to deal with after, like the aftermath of it.
For sure.
Because there's an aftermath for what happened, and there's an aftermath of what you're going to deal with after you come forward. So there's both. There are two different layers to it.
So what do you see? Like, how do you see, like, the first aftermath you're talking about? What happens then? What's the symptoms?
So a lot of the symptoms is self-blame. You victimize yourself, you blame yourself, you shame yourself. What did I do to put myself in this situation? Especially with kids. That's the first thing they're going to ask themselves. What did I do to put myself in this situation? You know? And then,
Kids seriously ask themselves that question.
yeah, they do. Because for them, it's like, this is an adult that I trusted. And this adult did this to me. What did I do to put myself in this position? Why did they do this to me? Something's wrong with me.
I can see that.
Yeah, unfortunately. But,
Very.
What we could do to encourage them is one, make sure that the resources and the supports are set in place. And number two, I think it's our responsibility as adults now that have been through these experiences to come forward, to speak on it, and be that example for them. And again, it's something I mentioned also earlier, where the minute you own up to your story and you speak on it, you take away the stigma from it. And that's where you give other people permission to start talking about it. It's all about connectivity, and storytelling is a huge part of it, because what you're doing is normalizing rather than pathologizing now. And you're opening up the floor to people like, here, I took initiative. I did the first step. I spoke about it. This was the reaction that I got. You too can speak about it. You're giving other people permission to speak up as well. You're providing people with a safe space to share their experiences. And even with youth, we find more success when it's peer involved, because it takes away the shame from it. It takes away the intimidation. So if we're opening up spaces where they can speak, where they can engage, where they can share each other's experiences together, that provides a sense of safety and familiarity, and even a sense of belonging. And it's so much easier to deal, and it builds up your resilience a lot higher. Like, even if you bring the best therapist on earth, but you isolate the person from their community, you're going to find a lower success rate than if it's literally just a group therapy session with people and peers sharing their experiences. You're going to find a much higher success rate.
What a brave soul, though, for that one individual to come up and say, this is my story.
Yeah.
I can imagine what you guys go through, because it's funny. I have friends that are police officers, and they tell me sometimes about the domestic calls. Some of them, they've seen some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how genuinely a lot of people can do it for a very long time. I guess unless you're in a space where you're like, I'm genuinely here. This is just my mission in life, is to go and help others.
The turnover rate is very high. And like, I find it difficult at my current job that we have like 12-hour shifts. Like, our shifts are 12 hours. Sometimes you get extended to 15. I genuinely love my job. I enjoy every aspect of it, but it is physically exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. You can't expect someone to be in a demanding job like this, where you're pouring yourself completely into it and work for 12 hours. That's crazy.
No, it is crazy.
We're not paid enough either. So it's like, to have good people doing these jobs for a long time, you have to also support them with the proper resources. And that's one of the reasons why, I'm pursuing my master's as part of something I've always wanted to do. I want to open my own practice, because I want to be able to do things on my own terms. I want to be able to fill my cup every single day, drain it at work, and then fill it up again and come back to be the best version of myself, to provide the best quality of therapy for my clients. Because I don't think it's sustainable the way frontline workers have their jobs set up right now. And that's why, we're continuously going on strikes. The unions are always involved. We're trying to better, our working conditions. It's very unfortunate.
So then let's talk about entrepreneurship.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship.
What's on the list? We want to know all about you.
So I have my podcast as well.
Go check it out.
We're filming right now. Initially, when I started my podcast, it was just a passion project. It was for fun. I had recently broken up of a long-term relationship. JC is a good friend of mine. And we were on the phone, and he's like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to work. I was like, okay, what do you want to do? I was like, let's start a freaking podcast. I was like, let's do it. I had no idea what I was doing. I don't even know how to turn on a camera. We were like, let's just do it. And it was for fun. I had zero expectations. And then after the summer ended and we stopped filming, people were calling me, I want to be a guest on your podcast. I want to sponsor your podcast. Why aren't you posting anymore? And I was like, people listen to this shit? Like, okay, I think I need to actually take this seriously now. And I enjoyed it.
Isn't it crazy though?
It is. It is. So yeah, and it's all about, providing that space that we were talking about earlier. And I feel, and I'm gonna touch on a little bit here, I'm Arab, I'm Muslim, and I feel like continuously in the media, we're trying to correct the narrative. We're trying to justify ourselves. We're looking for platforms where we can try and show people this is who we really are. We're not so-and-so. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
I want to have my own platform. I want to dictate the narrative. I want to have control and agency over it. And that's why I wanted to have a platform, and I wanted to open up that platform for people that looked like me and felt like me and create that space for them. I couldn't afford it at first, so I waited a couple months till Cyber Monday came.
Okay.
And I bought the equipment. I did have also a business that also wanted to sponsor, and then I decided I was gonna film in my living room. I set up everything in my living room. I posted a story on Instagram. Tony called me, and he was like, "I have an idea. Like, why don't you bring your equipment to my building and we kind of figure something out?" We talked, we bounced off ideas, we created a podcast studio, but with different setups where people could also rent it out. So people that had the problem that I had can now have a space that's affordable for them to rent out and do their own podcasts. And then we created a co-working space that people, can rent out and go to. So that's one of the things. I'm a coach and I facilitate workshops. I love men and women, but like I try as much as I can to focus on women that are newcomers, women that are immigrants, people from BIPOC communities, because I feel like a couple years ago, it was more
Explain what a BIPOC community is, by the way.
Like people of
Just
color.
so people understand.
Yeah, people of color. Like I'm like, someone who's not Caucasian.
I just wanted to bring some
Yeah, because
a definition for people watching.
Yeah, we grow up thinking that, I want to fit into the mold of like the Western society
I never did.
and how that looks like. But I think that takes away your power because it takes away your perspective. So if we're able to kind of overcome that barrier, it provides such a beautiful bridging gap to allow all these people with these hidden talents to come out and show off these talents and then be an example for younger men and younger women that come from our communities that don't have as much opportunity that other people do, and show up for themselves and show up for their communities.
Well, if anybody watches you online, they can definitely tell that you're very active. That's number one. And you're going to all these events and all this interesting stuff, which is, I think is I'm just stuck on the fact that JC gave you an idea. Yeah. And you went and opened your own podcast studio. It's just hilarious.
No, JC, like he's
He better not be mad at this point. He created a monster, so.
No, he didn't. Honestly, also, like JC was the first person that ever gave me sales training. Because I didn't even think I would want to be in sales. Like I've always divulged in like marketing and stuff like that. In Lebanon, I had my own marketing company. But so I worked with him a little bit, but then JC was like, "You should sell. You'd be good in sales." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you'd be good in sales." He gave me my first sales training.
How was it, by the way?
JC was very, very hard on me. He pushed me to my limits. Like I hated him and loved him at the same time. But he saw something in me I didn't see in myself at that point, and I'm very grateful for it. I tell him sometimes like, "Oh, we can't work together," because he'll cuss me out and I'll cuss him out and stuff like that.
It's a crazy dynamic.
Yeah, but I love him for it. And he's the one who took me to my first networking event as well. He's like, "What are you doing? Okay, you're going with me to a networking event." I was like, "Huh? What?"
Which one was that one?
It was Beyond Networking. So I went to a networking event with him.
How is that one, by the way? I'm going to go to the first one because I want to show.
It's amazing. Sarwar is the one that founded it.
Great guy. I've never been to any of them. I'm going to go to the Tea Time, which everybody should show up to.
Yeah, and it's in support.
Tea Time for Palestine.
It's in support of Palestine. I think Sarwar has done an amazing job, creating a collaborative community where we all lean on each other. Even like when Lebanon was going through war, me and Sarwar did a fundraiser.
Let's be honest, they're still going through war. They've already violated the ceasefire like 4,600 times, by the way.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue.
No, I was just gonna say, like, he does not shy away from any opportunity to uplift and help the community. Like I've personally worked with him on so many different like fundraisers and initiatives. We even did one for Awesome, which is a organization that supports children that have autism. We did a fundraiser for Lebanon, a fundraiser for Palestine. We did fundraisers for Chio.
Wow, you guys did all that.
Yeah, it's mainly him.
That's okay. You're still involved. You guys are still active,
But he's found a way, to bring the community together. And every time someone comes to Ottawa, he'll reach out to me like, "Oh, this person's a newcomer. Reach out to them." So he's a connector. He connects people. He brings us sometimes. He's a teacher at Algonquin. He's a professor there. He brings us sometimes to give talks to the students that he teaches.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful. Yeah,
that's amazing. But I want to go back to the fact that you were just saying that you're Arab and you're Muslim, right? And then you're trying to create a space where you're not here to be apologetic anymore because this isn't who you are and it's not portraying who you are, whatever they're putting in the media. Exactly. So when you said you want to make that space for others, I want to go back to that podcast a little bit so I can understand what's the topics of this podcast. Because obviously there's no way you're putting 1,000 Lebs on the podcast. No. And we're all talking about the same thing the whole day.
No, it's not just Lebs or just Arabs or Muslims, but it's people that also identify with the hardships that we go through every day and the stigmas that we're put into. It's called Roots. Initially, self-development, mental health. Let's come on here. Let's trauma dump. Let's talk about what happened and how we push through it. You grow through what you go through,
I love it. That's going to be one chaotic podcast. Have you released anything yet?
No, from the new one, no, not yet. No.
I'm excited to see that.
You should come be a guest on it. You definitely fit the criteria.
There's a lot of dumping that's going to happen.
I can't wait.
That's crazy, because let me get your perspective.
Okay.
Because I was saying it for a long time, but I don't want to give mine so I don't cloud anyone else's.
Okay.
When did you get sick and tired of being, you know what, this isn't who we are. I'm not going to apologize for shit I'm not going to do anymore.
When I kept getting backhanded compliments at events where, oh, you're Muslim? You're actually so educated. Oh, you're Lebanese, so you're Arab? You're so liberal and forward thinking. And I'm like, buddy, this is not the compliment you think that it is. You're literally telling me that you think we're freaking savages and primitive beings. Like, I'm not going back home riding my camel and going and creeping into my tent and sleeping on my little sleeping bag on the sand. Like, that's not what is going on. If you compare Canada to some of the countries that we come from, Canada would look like a third world country. Let's just be honest right now.
No, that's a fact. Listen, I'm okay with that.
I'm going to get heat for it, but I don't care.
I don't care.
No one parties like Lebanese people parties. No one does tourism like we do. So we have a lot of problems, but...
I got sick of it too at some point. I just said, you know what? Look, man, stop talking about ISIS. Stop talking about 9/11. It's not even who we are. And then Christians finally, it's funny because when you bring up to the fact that, oh, you know what, Muslims believe in Jesus. Oh, really?
Jesus was Arab. Oh my God. He's Middle Eastern.
I say this all the time. Like, as an example, half my mom's side is from a place called Safad.
Yeah.
I'm like, first of all, where's Jesus from? Nazareth. Where is that?
Palestine.
There you go. So the moral of the story is he wasn't blonde hair, blue eyed. He was one of our own people.
There you go.
Whatever. You want to believe whatever you want to believe is up to you. I don't care. Faith is however you want to do it.
Yeah.
But in the end, we have a lot more similarities than differences.
Yeah.
So we believe in the same guy. Hello. We're actually friends. But I just said, you know what? Listen, man, I don't give a shit. If you want to view me as, oh, he's Arab, he's a terrorist, he's whatever, do you. I don't care. I'm going to live my life. I don't terrorize nobody. It's funny because one time I was driving taxi. My father owned a cab. Long story short, he needed help, right? So I had a lady come down from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And then, how are you, ma'am? Nice to see you. Welcome to Ottawa. Is this your first time? Yes, it is. What are you here on business? Well, no problem. Let me take your bags. Customer service, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, where would you like to go? I'm going to the Elgin Hotel. No problem. Obviously, we know how to get there. Would you like the radio? Would you like, silence? We can chit chat. She's like, no, I want to know about you. I said, sure, no problem. So we start chatting. And then halfway through, I was still on the airport parkway. Right? And then she's like, where are you from? I said, I'm Lebanese. She's like, oh, where's that? And I said, it's in the Middle East. Shifted. A wall of tension comes up. She's like, oh, you're an Arab. I'm like, yeah, I'm Arab. She's like, are you an Islamist?
Oh my God.
First of all, I don't even know what the fuck that even means.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a Muslim and I'm proud to be one. She's like, and then I shit you not. She says, so you're a terrorist.
No.
I swear to God. No, I swear to God. I said, and it took everything in me to not just say, you know what, go find another taxi. I'm still a professional at the end of the day. Always. Always professional. And I told her, ma'am, the only terrorist in this car here is you.
Wow.
Because you're the only one that's terrorizing my life. I'm just trying to provide you a clean, safe service to get you from one destination to the other.
Wow.
So let's be very honest. And then we started getting into the dialogue. Because the only way you can get over ignorance is education. That's how you can cure the ignorance. And then she was blown away. And I'm like, oh, you remember Joseph in the Bible? They're like, yeah. I'm like, what do you think his name was? His name was Yusuf. My real name is Yusuf. Thank you very much. But I'm with you. I like that. Good for you. Keep it up. I'm going to be a guest on the show. We're going to fucking trauma dump like you want to believe.
I'm excited for it.
Laughs, tears, whatever you want at that point.
There you go.
When are you going to lunch?
When we're done filming.
How are you going to do the structure, by the way?
What do you mean?
Are you going to do one episode release right away? Are you going to do like JC did? I think JC did like a whole season. Yeah. And just started releasing. I don't remember if it was one a week or it was like a Netflix thing where it was all in one.
So I want to like finish filming the few that I have already lined up because I do want to create some sort of teaser because then I want to have consistent content to post. You know how it is.
100%.
Yeah, I think that answers your question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know. Do you have a date in mind?
No, not yet. No.
When you do, we got to know right away.
Yeah.
So what's the other project that you're doing? Because I know we're running out of time.
I do workshops and coaching, self-development and mental health workshops and coaching. So I deal with people one-on-one. And then by the time I'm done with my master's, I can open my practice and call it therapy.
Amazing. So you're already going to open up your own practice.
100%. Yeah. I'm doing my master's right now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So the coaching part, what's your ideal client?
So there's a funny thing that says your ideal client is you a couple years ago. Because that's the person that you can help
Then
the
I
most.
want to know who you were a couple of years ago. Are we trauma dumping here right now on this podcast?
Honestly, it's anyone that's seeking some sort of guidance and is ready to accept, that they're not perfect. If you have something you want to work on, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. Put your ego on the side and let's go.
Because I'm only asking because we're talking about entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, a lot of us do need coaching.
We
You got
do.
a lot of egotistical people with this much in their bank account, but they think they're larger than life. And sometimes you just got to live in reality.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, I've failed more times than I've succeeded when it comes to business. I cannot tell you how many ideas I've had, how many investors meetings I've had. I'm learning a lot. Like there are other things in the works that I don't want to just, talk about
okay.
immediately unless it's like solid. But, it's continuous. It's never going to stop. I'm always going to find a way to hustle. I'm always going to find a way to make money. I do sales as well on the side.
We know. You're a marketer. We know.
It's fun. It's not my passion, but it's fun. And that's why I don't do it full time because.
So what are you selling though?
So I work with a company that's called Sales Ask. I don't know if you know Mo Abbas.
I do.
Yeah, so he was the founder of Ottawa General Contractors, kind of in your field. So I do sales with him as well. And he set up the system in a way where you kind of own this part of the company. This is your baby now. This is your project. Grow it. And the more you grow it, the more money you're going to make. Like I really admire about him that he's all about leveling up everyone that's with him. So he gives you that sense of ownership of it. And let's go. And me and his customer success manager were actually really good friends. And one time we were on one of the trips doing, like the events and stuff.
Which one? The one that just passed in Anaheim?
No. It was the one in Denver.
Okay.
So me and her were talking. One of the girls that was with us went on a date and she came back and said that the date sucked. And I look at her and I'm like, Bara, oh my God, you know what we should do? And she was like, what? So his technology is a sales coach that gets implemented like into your like dialer or whatever. And it records the conversation and gives you like, it coaches you on how to sell better.
Sure.
So I'm like, we need to use this technology and plug it into a dating app.
Holy smokes.
And I'm going to
You're going to create a bunch of robot, manipulative, narcissistic human beings.
There are so many. We have more good guys that are single. They are marriage material, but they're single. And all the bad guys out here, they're out here traumatizing all these women in the streets. Because these guys don't know how to talk to women. They don't have the social skills.
But hold on. Can we play devil's advocate for a second? Why are the girls keep going for the bad boys then?
Because we, unfortunately, we confuse chaos for passion. That's why. It's meeting the person on the psychological wound that you have. I've been there. I'm guilty of it. I have healed now. Now I go for the nice, good guy.
Good for you. We got a few lined up for you.
No, I have so
I'm
much.
happy you are. I'm just
Thank
throwing
you.
that out. It's funny because I was always the bad boy, and then I met my wife, and then I was supposed to be the good boy, but I'm like, I am who I am. It is what it is.
But she brings out the best in you, I assume.
My
So,
wife.
Yeah.
She's the best.
There you go. That's how it works.
No, she's patient.
That's how it works.
Allah, you need to be patient. If you're around me, whew.
Yeah, but no one can steal the idea. I've already patented it, so don't even try to go there. So.
If you actually did, I'd be so impressed.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're just like we're
No, wallah, we even did a trial. Like when we were at the freaking conference.
Shut up! You actually did it.
I brought one of the guys that works at the conference. Like he's like operations or something like that. He kept going and coming every day. We'd see him. Hi, hello. I'm like, come sit down. We're gonna do a mock date. And he was so confused. He was like, huh? He's like, I have a girlfriend. But I'm like, bro, this is an experiment. Just sit down. And then I turned on the software, and I'm like, the coach that they have, his name is Coach Jean. I'm like, Coach Jean, judge this, but as if it's a date, not a sales pitch. And I said the most horrendous things. I probably traumatized that man.
Sure.
But it gave us a score, and it gave like, you didn't ask her enough questions. You didn't
Wow.
You weren't engaging. You were blah, blah, blah. You weren't empathetic when she was complaining to you about so-and-so. Like, I'm telling you, we have so many good men and good women that are single because they don't know how to talk. They don't know how to put themselves out there. They don't know how to communicate. They're scared. They're intimidated.
I agree.
So if we could plug into it like human-centered therapy, Carl Rogers' school of thought, things like that, and have them see the woman's perspective and they see the men's perspective, I think we'd see a lot more successful marriages.
Fuck, AI is that impressive.
Yeah.
Like, we're using it as dating coaches at this point. This is crazy.
But why not?
Why not? No, I'm with it. I love the innovation. That's incredible.
Yeah, like
I'm
how
just
many
saying.
missed opportunities? You know, you've got people that are perfectly compatible, but you know, it was a missed opportunity. They didn't know how to connect. They didn't know how to get to that spark. Because I'm gonna tell you this: you can have all the attraction in the world,
Right.
you can have all the communication and all the trust. People think that if you have communication and trust, their relationship is gonna work. Absolutely not. That is not true. If you guys don't align on values, it's not gonna work.
I don't think a lot of people understand that, though. I think that's why marriages fail.
Absolutely.
I think you have to have a lot more commonality with your partner, not just from that, just like you just said, even values.
It's not a lack of love. It's not a lack of compassion. I think it's a lack of comprehension. And, you know, the lack of your values aligning, because that kind of gives you the clarity, that gives you the foundation to combat everything else. Because love is going to fade whether you like it or not. It turns into respect. It turns into compassion. It turns into so many other things. So if your values are aligned and you guys are growing together, because, you know, your values are going to change. You're going to change as a person.
You're a human being. You
Yeah.
evolve.
But if, like, within your values, you know, this is the core of your being. Part of it is adaptability and growth mindset and hustling or whatever. You guys are going to grow together rather than grow apart. And that's why it would
You
work.
sound like a self-coach here, right?
I swear I didn't rehearse this.
It's funny because even when I met my wife, obviously you want to, you know, talk to the girl.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you want her to be attracted to you. You got to see, you know, like the young folks nowadays, you got to pick her up, you know? So you sweep her off with the broom. And then after, when you liked each other and you find there's a future, there's a compatibility, I flat out told her, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. This is how I see my future. And then I painted the picture. So later on, you can never tell me, well, you never told me that.
But you gave
No.
her clarity. I just mentioned that. And that's what you
That's
did.
what I'm saying. This is perfect, because I think a lot of people, what they're doing is they try to meet somebody and then they'll either portray. I don't think you should give anybody everything right off the bat. And when I
agree.
say that, I'm talking about the full craziness. Because off this
We're all
podcast and this
crazy.
camera's closed, I can, you know, we have skeletons and we can, you know, we can do the dead walk. But I'm just saying, first get to know the person. Like, if you're a goofy person, that is what it is.
Yeah.
But don't obviously show that right off the bat in full 100% accelerated mode, right? But after, when you guys get to know each other, there's a relationship, something you guys are going to build, then set the expectations. You guys are grown adult anyways. Let's say there's a future. You guys want to get married? Sure. No problem. Do
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're going to do it then and there.
No,
But
I
be
agree with
upfront
you.
and clear of what your expectations are and the whole shebang. You guys get along
Yeah,
great.
I agree with you. And honestly, I think now it's the most difficult time to be in a relationship. Like, this is the hardest generation to be in a relationship, because you have social media, you have all the comparisons, you have all these like doubts that are seeping into you day in, day out. And I feel like with everything that we've been seeing, we try to form some type of character to show, you know, when we're dating. And even if the person loves you, that you showed them that character, you're never fully seen. It's never really you. They don't love you. They love the character that you're playing.
I agree with
And
you.
that's why you also can't date people for their potential. I always freaking say this. You can probably find 100 videos of me saying you can't date people for their potential. That's not fair to them, and that's not fair to you. You know, and love and life and all this stuff, it's all about, like, we say that we're chasing love. I don't think it's just we're chasing love. I think we chase a companion because we want to share our life with somebody, because if someone wasn't a witness of it, it almost didn't even freaking happen.
I'm not even going to ask you what's your most ideal companion, since you got somebody in your life. And I don't want people to sit there and
He's
say,
my best friend. He was someone I was best friends with for 5 years. Everyone wanted me to be with him. Everyone saw it coming. I did not. I always said, no, it's not like that. And then here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You
Well-
know him. I'll tell you after the cameras.
No, it's okay. I will wait for that moment. But you know what? I think dating. I know we're running out of time. We'll just wrap it up after this one. But I think what dating did to the modern world is teach people on how to break up, and then I think that might be a big cause of why the divorce rate's so high.
That's very powerful.
Right. So even as in my youth, I never really cared much for dating, and I never believed in dating.
Mm-hmm.
I thank my religion for it, because that's, and our culture for it, because it's obviously it was looked down upon and all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But genuinely, most of the people that you see that are divorced had multiple relationships. So all dating did, in my opinion, was just teach people how to break up, and that's it. You know, the grass is always greener on the other side, And then we'll leave that
No,
for
it's not. It's greener where you water it.
Exactly. But this is what they're trying to teach you, right?
Yeah.
And that's what social media is. I think everybody should live in their own reality and then what's in front of them and stop trying to live them. You know what? I'll leave this for your job anyways. You know, you want to be the coach and all that. I'm going to let them just come and tune into Roots podcast.
Thank you.
I really proud of what you got going on.
Thank you so much.
I'm a big supporter. I hope to God, you know, everybody tunes in. Kev, make sure that you post the links and all the socials there because I want everybody to come check you out.
Thank you so much, Joey. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to do the friggin' trauma dump. So wait until that
I'm
one.
excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so let's do that very soon.
Yeah, we will.
Very good. So if you guys liked what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And then make sure you share it out to everybody because we want to promote Roots and I as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.